Hey, what's up guys? My name is Cherno and welcome to episode 29 of Network Chat Programming. And today we're going to talk about kicking people, okay? So we've got this awesome server, of course, which handles all of our clients, but we have no way of kicking people, okay? And that's sometimes a problem. We can get someone who logs in who's just being a complete idiot and ruining everything, and we just want them gone, okay? We want them to move out permanently. Well, not permanently, that's called banning, it's something different, but we want to get rid of him, okay? We want to kick him, right? Or her. So, because of this, we don't really have a system of doing this, and we should. Okay, so this is what this episode is going to be about. Okay, learning how to kick people. Okay, so obviously it's going to be a console command, right? So it's going to be a command that we give this server, and in the server.java class, or rather in the server.java file, I guess the class is called server. We have a method called run. Okay, and in this run method, we have a bunch of commands that we've written for ourselves. And by a bunch, I really mean two right now. We've got raw and we've got clients, okay? But what we want to have is one more command, okay? Well, actually, we'll probably have more than one more eventually, but we want to have a command that is essentially called kick, okay? So we'll make another else if, because that's how we make commands. Else if text.equals kick. Okay, now this is actually the difference, right? The syntax we want to use for the kick command is going to be something like this, right? So slash, we want to say slash, kick, and then maybe the username, so yarn, okay? Or slash kick and maybe the ID, okay? Since we have, since every client has an ID. So we might want to do something like that, okay? We might want to have those two options, and obviously we have kick and then kind of a parameter, okay? So to set that up, we get rid of this slash when we do it right over here. When we do this text equals text.substring 1, we get rid of the slash. But more importantly, over here in kick, right, we can't do equals because it won't be equals. Okay, it'll be equals if we put just the word kick, but we also want to specify a name. So we have to change this equals to a starts with. Okay, so if text starts with kick, it's clearly going to be a kick command. Now let's handle that. Okay. First thing we want to do is get the name, okay? Or at least figure out if it's a name or an ID, right? We don't want to have to put like a flag at the end being like, all right, kick 8222, that identifier. And then we want to be like, oh, by the way, that's an ID, so let's specify that. We don't want to do that, right? We kind of know that if it's a number, it's not going to be a user, okay? Obviously, if it's a mixture of letters and numbers, it could be a username. But if it's just numbers, it is not a username, it's an ID, okay? So we have to kind of we'll just let the server kind of figure it out, okay? If it's a string of numbers, then it's going to be an ID. Otherwise, it's a name, okay? So let's make a string. We'll call it name for now, and we'll just set it equal to essentially just the second half of this kick command. Since we type in slash kick yarn, we want to kind of just extract the name out of that, okay? And the way that we can do that, of course, is simply use our text here dot split, and then the rejects here will just be a space, okay? And the reason is what did I do wrong here? Okay, it's an array. It'll be 1. Now the reason it's going to be that is because, of course, the difference, I guess, the thing that divides yarn here is, as you can see, a space, okay? So if we get rid of that space, we're left with two strings here. We're left with this slash, well, this kick, because the slash has been removed earlier, and yarn. Now this is IDs, this is index 0 in the array, and this is index 1, and we want, of course, 1 because that's the name, thus we have a 1 in here, okay? I hope you guys understand this. We've done a lot of this splitting stuff, but a few of you guys might not get it yet, so there's a better explanation, hopefully. All right. Now we want to kind of figure out, is it a number or is it not a number, okay? And we can do that pretty easily. First of all, let's just grab a boolean called num. We'll set it equal to false, okay? And the easiest way probably to find out whether something is a number or not is, well, actually, the easiest way to find out whether a string is a number or not is just try and convert it to a number and see if that works, okay? So we'll try and set, let's actually, okay, so first of all, we should make an integer called ID. I'll set that equal to -1, which kind of means it's not in use. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and integer dot pass int our text here, okay? And we'll actually try and set that equal to ID, okay? So if it works, right, we'll set number equal to true, right? Otherwise, if we catch an exception here, and the exception that we're going to be catching, of course, is the number format exception, and I'll explain what all this is in a minute, then we will we'll set num equal to false, means it's not a number, okay? So essentially what happens here is we try and convert this text variable, this text, name, sorry, my bad. We try and convert this name string into a number, okay? If it's not a number, so if it's something like yarn, and we can't convert yarn into a number, clearly it's a word. If we try and convert that name into a number, and it turns out that the name is actually text, then it'll throw then this integer.parseInt will throw an exception, which is called a number format exception, because the thing that we're trying to convert is actually not a number. And of course, the way that we're simply going to handle that is we're just going to set num equal to false. Okay, simple as that. What we could do to probably make this a bit easier is just to get rid of this num equals true line and then just make it true by default. Okay. Again, it's up to you, just a minor change, but we will keep it as that for now. So if it is a number, okay, and I'll just change this to number just for readability here. So if our little name here is actually a number, means it's an ID, right? So first of all, we need to find out, well, someone's just entered an ID. We want to kick someone with a particular ID. Does that ID actually exist, right? We might have entered the incorrect ID, or maybe the user has disconnected, blah, blah, blah. We want to check to see if the ID exists. So we'll make a Boolean here called exists, okay? And we'll set that equal to false for now. So for each of the clients that we have in this entire thing here, so for clients.size, for each of our connected clients to the server, we want to, first of all, whoops, what have I done here? I is less than clients.size. We want to basically check to see if clients.getI.getID is equal to our ID here, okay? Because of course, if it's a number, it won't be -1 anymore because we set it equal to this. If it is equal to ID, right, then obviously exists is going to be true, and then we can break because we don't need to keep checking all the other clients if we found one that does exist, okay? And then all we have to do here is first of all, we should say if exists, right? If our client does exist, because our Boolean here, it gets set to true. If we found a client with the specified ID, let's just kick him, right? So disconnect ID, right? And true. So in other words, we've caused the disconnection. It's organic. It's not like a timeout error or a network error. It's fine. However, else, right? If we did not find any client there, then we should probably just tell the server that, the client with, this ID doesn't exist, right? Check ID number. Something like that, just something helpful to let us know that, okay, it's failed, the user wasn't disconnected, okay? Else, right? So in other words, if the name is not a number, right, then it's obviously the name of the client, right? It's the username. So again, we have to do kind of the same thing. For in I equals 0, I is less than clients.size, I++, then we will set server client C equal to clients.getI. All right, just to make this a bit easier because there's going to be a lot of comparisons here. What we'll do here is we'll just simply say that if name, right, dot equals c dot name, okay, then basically what's happened here is we've gone ahead and said that if the name that we specified matches a username of a server client, then we found our username, right? So let's disconnect with, and the ID here, by the way, is going to be our c.getID, of course, because it's the current server client that we're checking in this for loop. And the status again will be true, right? Just like last time. Now, we also need a break because we don't want to keep checking all the other clients if we already found the one to disconnect. Now, one thing that's actually going to stop this from working, okay? This name.equals_cname will obviously check. It'll just compare the two strings, and it will see if they're equal. However, if we just remind ourselves of how we even get this name, you'll see over here that we get it via connection, right? We make a new server client, and this first parameter is the name. Now, we string here is straight from the packet, as you can see, packet.getData. We all know that the size of our packets at 1024 bytes. And you can see here what we do is, whoops, we don't have an end character. We simply trim it to 3 because the first 3 Characters are this slash c slash. And then we just go ahead and say string.length, okay? And what that does is it creates a username that has a lot of spaces at the end. So what we should do is actually add an end character and trim it properly, okay? Just like we do here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say string name equals our string dot split, okay? And the regex here is gonna be slash c slash or slash e slash, okay? And we'll set this equal to 1, of course. Whoops, make sure you end that. So in other words, it's exactly the same as this D, this D kind of disconnection thing where we have this slash D, yeah? It's exactly the same as that except for the slash C, okay? Now, and over here, of course, we'll change this string.substring thing to a name, just to this name string that we've just created, okay? Brilliant. Now, we also print out, I think, yeah, this. Let's get rid of that. That's just the name of the client. We don't want to print that. Rather, we'll print something like this user connected, right? So we'll go ahead and say maybe something along the lines of name plus, and then we'll just put the ID in brackets here. So like this, connected. Right, and then this message might be relayed to all the clients if we so choose, but essentially that just lets us know that we connected, right? Okay, brilliant. So what we can do now is pretty much test this out. Now, obviously we've gone ahead and said, okay, let's split this string based on this end character. There's actually a pipe at the end as well for some reason, but we want to split it on this slash a slash. But of course we never send this slash a slash, so we have to go back to our client window here, I believe. And let's find where we connect. So I think it's over here. Yeah, connection.getBytes. So here we go, string connection. We want to just basically append a slash a slash onto the end of that, and we should be good to go. Okay, that's very important because we have a massive trail of white spaces at the end of that. It doesn't just send, you know, yarn like that. It sends yarn with blah 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 like this. That's why we want to trim all of that and make it work properly. Okay. The Java string trim command, by the way, won't work for this. That's why it's important that we use these slash a characters. Brilliant. Okay, whoops, okay. There we go, sweet. So let's test this out now, right? We'll launch our server main, and I'll bring it up here so you guys can see. And we'll launch we'll go to login and we'll launch that as well. Yarn localhost 8192, login. All right. So we can see here it says that we connected. There's our ID 206. That's brilliant, right? We can also go slash clients. That's from the previous episode to see our ID yet again, okay? And now we can probably kick ourselves, right? So first of all, let's go ahead and try and say something. Hey. Okay. That did not work. Okay, that did. Oh, by the way, there's a bit of a bug that you guys might have discovered. If we type something and then just wait for a while, it disappears, okay? And we'll fix that in just a minute. It's actually a very easy fix. I forgot to mention that. But the point is, you can see it kind of clears it sometimes. And the reason it clears it is because we send a packet and we clear everything. I'll explain this in a minute. But you can see that we're talking with the server here. So if I go ahead and go slash kick and then let's just try the ID first, so 206. Type that in, hit enter. You can see client yarn disconnected. And if we try and say something, you can see that the server, of course, will still be getting the packets. There's no reason for the server not to get the packets. And the reason is, there's nothing to actually ensure the following connection, but the server just discards those packets, right? We print them over here, but the server just does nothing with them, okay? We could, you can't really reject these packets, right? Anything that kind of comes to you, you will kind of process, but we can discard the ones we don't need, okay? And that's what we've done here, of course. So you can see we can't talk anymore and we're not getting any feedback. Now, before we test the other one, and you can see that we still try and send a disconnection packet, and we have to handle that as well because the client's already been disconnected. But let's go ahead and fix that bug first. So if we go into, this is very important as well, so make sure you do this to yourselves as well. If you go into client window, you'll see this send little method here, right? And so what we're basically doing is we're using this send method to send messages, right? So every time we hit enter or we click the send button in our client window, we send a message. Now, however, right, on the other side, that's not the only thing we use it for, okay? You can see over here that if our message starts with I, that's obviously a server verification packet. We go ahead and send a reply, and we use this send method. So every time we reply to the server's "Are you there still, client?" message, we still we actually end up clearing this this text message box, right? So that text field where you can type your message essentially is getting cleared every time we use this send method, okay? We only want to clear it when we send a message, not when our client replies to the server's verification message. So to fix that, let's cut this and just put it into here, okay? So I've just put this text message from being outside this if text to being inside, okay? And the reason is this text, of course, lets us know that what we're sending is a client message, that in other words, the user's typed out a message in the chat program and hit enter or hit the send button, right? So in other words, you can see that we append M here to basically just to let the server know it's a message and, you know, all that good stuff. And also we clear the box only if that happens, okay? Very important stuff. And then you'll see here that if we launch our server again, and we'll test out the name thing in a minute, but whoops, if we open this up, now if we launch our server here and we launch our login, you can see that first of all, let's see if the bug resolved itself, and I'm pretty sure it would have. If we type something in, type in hey, you can see it's not disappearing, okay? And it'll stay like that forever until we hit the send button or we actually hit enter, okay? You can see that that works fine. All right, great. Now let's disconnect our little client here, okay? So we'll type in /kick yarn, all right? And you can see that it's worked, client disconnected, and we're no longer able to actually receive messages, okay? So just like that, that's gonna wrap up this episode of Network Chat Programming, episode 29. Next episode, I think what we're going to do is actually, you know what, before we wrap it up, I actually forgot about this. If you hit the close button, you can see we get an exception. So in other words, the server freaking crashes. And you can see that, of course, Eclipse has just told us here that we get a null pointer exception because the client doesn't exist, okay? So what we should do here, because it's trying to access C here, and you can see if I hover my mouse over, a lot of people ask me how. I might make a quick series on how to diagnose errors and stuff like that because it's really important. I think I might just do that in the Learning Java series that I want to do soon. But if we hover our name over C, right, it'll actually tell us that C equals null, okay? So in other words, this server client is equal to null. And the reason it's equal to null is because it couldn't find it in here, okay? Quick way to check this, or actually, well, not really to check this, but a quick way to prevent this is to say, let's just see if we can find the client with that ID, okay? Now, we've already got this awesome little for loop in here, okay, and it checks an ID here. So if I guess what we kind of need to set up is again a boolean here that says exists, right? Boolean exists equals false, okay. And then whenever we do actually, whoops, let's just terminate our application first. Whenever we do actually remove the client, yeah. So in other words, when we find the client with the ID and we do remove the client, as you can see over here, let's just go ahead and say exists equals true, okay? And we should probably change this to existed, okay, because we just removed him. But to true, okay? And over here we can say a simple if does not existed. So if it doesn't exist, then let's just return, okay? Let's not do the rest of the code in this method because we don't want to be printing stuff out from null and causing null pointer exceptions, okay? So that's as simple as that is, okay? Let's just test this out quickly. Again, if we open up our server main, open up our login, oops, open up our login, of course, yarn localhost, oops, 8192, login, all right? We'll type in /kick yarn, client's disconnected, let's close the close button here, and as you can see, we get no errors whatsoever. Our server is still running perfectly. We can check how many clients are online. You can see no one is, and we can do stuff like that, okay? That's going to pretty much end this episode of Network Chat Programming. I hope you guys did enjoy it. A /quit would be nice. We might do that the episode after next one or whatever. But next episode, I do want to focus on one pretty important thing that you guys want to see, and basically that is having a in our login thing here, we want to be able to maybe have like a menu up the top, and we want to be able to click a button and then see who's online. So maybe like a dialog box pops up, or we can type in maybe a command. I don't know. You guys decide, okay? You guys decide what kind of graphical user interface you want for this, okay? Whether that be a command, whether we can type in something like /online, okay? And it'll basically check to see who's online, okay? And it'll print out just locally into our console here who's online. Or maybe you want like a button here that we press, and it comes up with another window that has a list of who's online, okay? Maybe something like that. Anyway, let me know. Or like a permanent like toggle, like maybe like a tab that you can toggle, and it'll stay there forever attached to this window. That'll just tell you who's online essentially until you close it or whatever. I don't know, you guys decide. But that's gonna wrap up this episode of Network Chat Programming. Let's try and disconnect Jan again via the ID this time. 7870 works. Okay, we're out. Nice little voice crack for you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Be sure to like the video if you did. Later, guys.